Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining day two of our workshop. My name is Sanjeevni, and I've completed my master's in clinical psychology, and I work at MindTribe as a psychologist. I specialize in areas such as anxiety, overthinking, relationship concerns, narcissistic abuse, and sleep difficulties. So, I hope today's session helps you feel more confident and supported as you navigate this journey. Over to you, Simran.
Thank you, Sanjeevni. Hi, everybody. I'm Simran, and I am a junior psychologist here at MindTribe. I have previously done my master's in clinical and health psychology. As a psychologist, I have supported clients with depression, anxiety, relationship issues, body image issues, and other challenges. I hope you find today's workshop as insightful as you did yesterday. Also, thank you again for joining in. Over to you, Ahil.
Thank you, Simran. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ahil Bose. I have completed my master's in applied psychology, and I'm a junior psychologist here at MindTribe. My areas of specialties include dealing with problems like self-esteem issues, stress, depression, OCD, and emotional regulation. I hope you have a very informative and good time here today. I hope you can gather all the tools and techniques needed to navigate yourself through such an ordeal. Yeah, over to you, Anupama.
Hi everyone, I'm Anupama Vinod. I work as a psychologist here at MindTribe. I have done my master's in clinical psychology and I've been practicing for over a year now. I have supported clients dealing with stress, anxiety, low motivation, and self doubt. In my sessions, I focus on helping people understand themselves better and grow one step at a time. And I hope you all enjoy today's session.
Alright, so now before we start the workshop, I would like to explain some ground rules. Please keep your mics muted and cameras switched off at all times. If you wish to interact, you can use the chat box and type in whatever your opinions or feelings are on a certain thing that we're talking about, or please use the raise hand button before you wish to speak with us. Please maintain decorum and respect others and others' views around the topic that we are discussing today. And yes, we will also be recording this workshop. In the audio and presentation is going to be recorded as a part of today. I would also like to acquaint you with our disclaimers. So, recording, transcribing, or capturing any part of this workshop is strictly prohibited. This includes the use of transcription tools, screen recordings, screenshots, or any other form of documentation. The content shared in this session is the intellectual property of MindTribe. Unauthorized recording, reproduction, or distribution is not allowed. Please note that violation of this policy may result in removal from the session to protect the confidentiality of the group. Let's dive into our first topic of the day. I will be talking about communication and conflict management, how it is about building understanding and not walls with your potential partner. Next slide, please. Before we begin, let's do a quick poll. So, to understand when there is a disagreement, what is your first instinct? Do you talk it out immediately, go silent or withdraw, get defensive or heated, or try to keep peace at any cost? You can drop your responses in the chat box as well. Okay, so I see some responses coming in. Get defensive or heated, go silent or withdraw, talk it out immediately, space and think over it, try to keep peace at any cost, talk it out immediately. All right, an array of responses coming in, and all of these are very common ways of responding to any sort of conflict or tensed, communication. So, when we talk about communication in relationships, we often think about the words we use. But effective communication actually begins before we speak, right at the level of emotional intelligence. So, what does emotional intelligence mean? This means being aware of what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and how to express it without hurting the relationship. When partners understand their emotions, they respond rather than react. And when they understand each other's emotions, conversations become safer, calmer, and more productive. Emotional intelligence shows up in simple moments like pausing before saying something hurtful, recognizing when your partner is overwhelmed, or naming your own feelings instead of shutting down. These small skills completely change the tone of a relationship. Another big part of communication is non-verbal expression. So, research shows that tone, body language, and timing carry more weight than the actual words we use. Sometimes it's not what we say, but how we say it. A simple sentence delivered with irritation or defensiveness can feel like a threat, while the same sentence delivered calmly can feel supportive. Even things like eye contact, posture, or the choice of when to bring up an issue can either open a conversation or shut it down. Now, let's look at the main communication styles people tend to use. First, we have the passive style. This is when someone avoids expressing their needs or feelings. They might stay silent to keep the peace, but inside, resentment builds. Many people raised in environments where conflict was discouraged naturally move into this pattern. Next is the aggressive style. This isn't always about shouting, it can also be interrupting, dismissing, or controlling the conversation. The intention may be to solve the issue quickly, but the impact is that the other person feels unheard or attacked. Then we also have the passive aggressive style, the indirect expression. This shows up as sarcasm, withdrawal, silent treatment, or small acts of resistance instead of open communication. This style often comes from fear of direct conflict combined with frustration. Finally, we have the assertive style, which is the healthiest. Assertiveness means expressing feelings clearly but respectfully. It's saying this matters to me without blaming or attacking. It's also listening with the intention to understand, not just to respond. Assertiveness creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is what allows relationships to grow. The goal is not to be perfect but to be aware. When partners become mindful of how they communicate, both verbally and emotionally, it becomes much easier to resolve conflicts, understand each other, and stay connected even during difficult conversations. So, now let's take a moment to talk about something almost all couples struggle with: why difficult conversations feel so hard. We often assume that if a relationship is strong, communication should be easy, but in reality, most people carry emotional habits from childhood, culture, and past experiences that make tough conversations feel threatening rather than connecting. One major reason is the fear of conflict. Many of us grew up in homes where conflict was loud, chaotic, or simply not allowed. So when tension arises, our instinct is to avoid it. We tell ourselves, if I bring this up, it will start a fight. But avoidance doesn't make the issue disappear, it just makes it more painful later. Another big concern is worry about hurting the other person or being judged. Especially in new or arranged marriage contexts, people want to be perceived as cooperative, flexible, and respectful. They fear that speaking up might make them seem demanding or difficult. This fear can be even stronger in women, who are often socially conditioned to maintain harmony at all costs. Next, we have the discomfort with emotional vulnerability. Opening up about fears, needs, or insecurities can feel risky. It means letting the other person see parts of us we usually keep hidden. For many people, vulnerability is equated with weakness. So instead of sharing honestly, we suppress, overthink, or hint indirectly, hoping the other person will magically understand. The next reason is that many people have never had the healthy models for communication. Anupama, next slide, please. Yes, so it brings me to the next reason that many people have never had healthy models for communication. If you have never seen adults calmly discussing disagreements or setting boundaries with respect, it's unrealistic to expect yourself to suddenly master those skills. We only know what we have learned, and usually that means silence, frustration, or emotional outbursts. And finally, perhaps the strongest fear that people have is the fear that bringing up an issue will strain or break the relationship. People often think, if I talk about this, what if things get worse? Or what if they pull away? This fear leads couples to sweep things under the rug hoping time will fix it. But in unresolved tension doesn't fade, it accumulates. The important thing to remember is that avoiding difficult conflicts protects the moment, not the relationship. Healthy communication doesn't eliminate problems, but it gives both partners a way to address them without fear. And once we understand why we avoid these conversations, we can begin to challenge those patterns and replace them with healthier ones. Now, let's take a quick look at a poll. We have some common conflict triggers in arranged marriage setup now. So, when we look at arranged marriage setups, it's important to remember that the couple isn't just blending two individuals, they're blending two families, two cultures, and sometimes even two different definitions of what marriage should look like. Because of this, certain conflict triggers tend to show up more commonly, not because the couple is incompatible, but because expectations and environments are still adjusting. One of the biggest triggers is family expectation versus the couple's own boundaries. In many households, families have strong opinions about rituals, decision making, daily routines, and even how the couple should spend their time. When the couple's need for privacy, independence, or autonomy clashes with family expectations, tension can naturally arise. This doesn't mean either side is wrong, it simply means the boundary hasn't been clearly established yet. Another major trigger is financial decisions and responsibilities. Money plays a central role in everyday life, and couples may enter marriage with different financial values. How much to save, how much to spend, what to prioritize, or whether financial support is expected for parents or siblings. If these conversations don't happen early, misunderstandings can easily grow into resentment. Now, living arrangement is another big source of stress. Whether the couple lives in a joint family or a nuclear setup, each arrangement comes with unique pressures. Joint family may offer support but can also create conflicts around privacy, rules, and independence. Nuclear families offer freedom but may lead to feelings of guilt or pressure from extended family. Couples need time and communication to navigate whichever setup they choose. Next, we have role expectations. Who cooks, who earns, who takes care of parents, who handles chores, who makes decisions. Many people unconsciously carry forward expectations from their family of origin. If these expectations differ from their partners, both may feel unsupported or misunderstood. Another important trigger is communication gaps due to limited courtship time. In arranged marriage systems, couples often meet, get engaged, and marry within a short period. This means they have not have had enough time to understand communication styles, emotional triggers, or conflict patterns. Small misunderstandings can escalate quickly simply because both partners are still learning how the other communicates. And finally, our last conflict trigger is the external pressure. This comes from your society, extended family, and traditions. Comments from relatives, social expectations about how a good couple should behave, and pressure to follow rituals or timelines can create stress even when the couple is trying their best. The key message here is that these conflict triggers are normal, not a sign of failure. They are simply part of the adjustment process. With patience, clear communication, and shared understanding, couples can navigate these challenges and build a stronger, more resilient partnership together. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at some conflict styles. When it comes to conflict, most of us assume the issue itself causes the tension. But very often, it's not the issue, it's the style we use to respond. Every person has a natural conflict style shaped by how they were raised, what they have seen growing up, and what feels safest to them. In arranged marriage contexts, where two people may not yet fully understand each other's emotional patterns, these differences can create misunderstandings even when the intentions are good. So let's walk through the five most common conflict styles. The first is withdrawal. This looks like shutting down, going silent, walking away, or emotionally distancing when things get tense. It usually comes from a place of feeling overwhelmed or wanting to prevent escalation. But to the partner, It can feel like disinterest, rejection, or avoidance of responsibility. Withdrawal protects a person, but it can hurt the relationship if not balanced with communication later. The second style is aggression. Aggression doesn't always mean shouting. It can also be interrupting, blaming, using a harsh tone, or trying to dominate the conversation. This often comes from a desire to fix the problem quickly or to regain a sense of control. The intention may be solution oriented, but the impact is that the partner may feel attacked, unheard, or unsafe. The third style is avoidance, which is different from withdrawal. Avoidance means pretending nothing is wrong, pushing issues under the rug, or changing the subject to avoid discomfort. Many people do this because they fear confrontation, don't want to seem difficult, or think time will fix everything. But unspoken tension doesn't disappear. It quietly grows and eventually comes out in more hurtful ways. Then the next one that we have is compromise. This is when both partners give up something to meet halfway. Compromise is often encouraging because it brings temporary peace, but the limitation is that it sometimes sacrifices depth. One or both partners may still feel slightly dissatisfied because their deeper needs weren't addressed, just adjusted. And finally, the healthiest and most effective style is collaboration. Collaboration means sitting down together, sharing feelings openly, and trying to understand each other's needs. It's not about winning or losing, it's about finding a solution that feels fair and supportive to both partners. Collaboration takes emotional safety, patience, and maturity, but it creates long term harmony and builds deep trust. It's important to remember that no one has a perfect style. We all move between these patterns depending on stress, mood, and the situation. The goal isn't to label ourselves but to become aware. When partners understand each other's conflict styles, they stop taking reactions personally. Instead of saying, "Why are you like this?" they start asking, "How can we work through this together?" True compatibility isn't about avoiding conflict, it's about learning to navigate it with care, curiosity, and teamwork. Next slide, please. So, now let's just do a quick reflection. So, depending upon the types of conflicts that we have talked about, what do you think is the conflict style you use most often? We had withdrawal, avoidance, aggression, compromise, collaboration, right? Avoidance, a mix of everything, open discussion in future. So that looks like collaboration, compromise, passive aggressive or avoidant. All right, thank you for sharing that. Looks like all of us use a mix of a lot of different conflict styles, and it all depends on the kind of situation we are in, the kind of headspace we are in at that moment. Thank you for sharing, everybody. We have one more question. So, how might shifting your style improve communication in your relationship? What do you think if you shift your conflict style from a more avoidant or aggressive one to a more collaborative one? Does that make any change for you in your communication and in your partnership? Right. Somebody says better understanding and mindfulness. Correct. It does bring in a lot of, you know, inner peace and a lot of emotional safety when you're communicating with your partner. Somebody says subjective to situation. Correct. It can be very subjective to situation. As previously mentioned, there are a lot of things that impact the kind of way we respond to our partner or anybody in a conflict situation. But it is always a good suggestion to redirect yourself to become more collaborative and understand how things can be worked through together. Somebody says it needs more awareness and vulnerability. Right. So collaboration and discussing your challenge together can bring in awareness from both ends as to what are the stuck points, and it also brings in vulnerability because you do share where this challenge is coming in from. Again, this is something that can, you know um, give in a lot of maturity and can give in a lot more patience to navigate the challenge than any other conflict style can. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your views. I hope it was helpful to understand how collaboration is a very healthy conflict style. And if you just redirect yourself and rethink that how can we work through this together, it can give you a more collaborative perspective on your conflicts instead of a place where you feel like you have compromised more or you have completely avoided the situation because it felt too overwhelming. We also have a case study now, so this will give you more idea about how to handle communication. So this is a case study about Arav and Meera. Arav and Meera have had an arranged marriage after a brief courtship of 4 months. Both were very excited to start their lives together but came from different family cultures. Arav's parents lived with them, and Meera, though respectful, found it hard to adjust to the constant family involvement in daily decisions, from what she cooked to how she dressed when guests visited. Initially, Meera avoided talking to Arav about her discomfort. She didn't want to seem difficult or disrespectful to his parents. Instead, she withdrew emotionally, spending more time in her room or on the phone with her family. Arav noticed her behavior change but assumed she was just adjusting slowly. After a few months, Meera finally brought up her feelings during a heated moment. She expressed frustration that her opinions didn't seem to matter in household decisions. Arav felt blindsided and defensive. He accused her of not communicating earlier and not making an effort to blend in. Their arguments became repetitive, while Meera feeling unheard and Arav feeling unappreciated. Both cared deeply about the relationship but didn't know how to bridge the communication gap. Right, so now let's look at some practical, grounded suggestions that can help couples communicate more effectively, especially in the early months of marriage when both partners are still learning each other's rhythms. So, picking up from Arav and Meera's case study, the first and most important suggestion is to address issues early and calmly. Many people delay uncomfortable conversations because they want to avoid tension or don't want to hurt their partner. But postponing discomfort often amplifies misunderstandings. Honest, timely conversations prevent small concerns from turning into emotional distance. The next suggestion is to choose the right time and tone. Even valid concerns can lead to conflict if they are raised when someone is tired, stressed, or distracted. Sensitive topics deserve a quiet, private moment where both partners can listen and not react. The goal is to create a space where both feel safe enough to express themselves. Another essential tool is to express feelings clearly and assertively. Instead of blaming or accusing the other partner, using simple I feel statements help partners speak from their own experience. For example, you can say, I feel overwhelmed when decisions happen without me. This is very different from saying, you never include me. Assertive expression creates room for understanding instead of defensiveness. This brings us to the next point. Listen with empathy and not defensiveness. It's natural to want to defend ourselves when we hear something uncomfortable. But genuine listening means pausing that instinct. It means acknowledging the emotion first before explaining your perspective. Often people don't need an instant solution, they need to feel heard. So, when Arav in our case study responded defensively, the opportunity for connection was lost. A moment of empathy can change the entire tone of conversation. Another powerful suggestion is to collaborate on solutions. So healthy communication isn't just about airing feelings, it's about working together to make things better. This might look like setting boundaries with family, adjusting routines, or revisiting expectations. When couples decide together, both feel respected and involved. And finally, revisit communication regularly. Your relationships change. Families are also constantly evolving. and new challenges replace old ones. Making space for periodic check ins, whether weekly or monthly, prevents issues from silently building up. Think of communication not as a one time fix but as an ongoing rhythm in the relationship. These suggestions are very simple, but they create a strong foundation. And with consistency, they transform these tense moments into opportunities for connection, understanding, and partnership. I hope these key suggestions were clear. We can now move forward to the next segment.
Thank you, Simran. Today's topic I'll be covering is on boundaries, independence, and family over involvement. So, here we'll explore how couples can create a safe space for themselves without disrespecting cultural values, how independence can coexist with family closeness, and how over involvement can unintentionally strain the relationship. Next slide, please. Okay. So, to begin today, let's get a quick sense of the room, right? In many arranged marriages, family involvement continues long after the wedding, right? But the level of involvement looks different to everyone. So, you tell me, how much involvement feels healthy to you? A. Minimal, the couple handles the decision independently. B. Moderate, family can advise but they don't decide. C. High, family should play an active role in major choices. Right. You can see a lot of responses which are B. Right. Moderate. So everyone agrees that moderate is the ideal one. A and B, depending on circumstance. Yes. Right. So thank you all for sharing your views. So, this will give us a starting point to understand where your personal comfort level lies. Because, boundaries are not one size fits all, right? It depends on person to person and their comfort level. Next slide, please. Right. So let's talk a little bit about intertwined family system, mostly in Indian context, right? Because unlike Western models of marriage, in many Indian families, the marriage doesn't just connect two individuals; it connects two family systems, right? So this means family involvement often continues well beyond the wedding day. So the line between the couple's private space and the family's shared space can blur very quickly, right? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Great. Thank you so much, Kanvi. Right. Okay. So, like I said, the line between the couple's private space and the family's shared space can blur very quickly, right? But you're expected to show respect, adaptability, and sometimes conformity, right? Even when you're not trying to build your own identity within the marriage. I mean, even when you're trying to build your own identity, right? So, navigating this blend of respect and independence becomes a core skill for long term relationship harmony. Next slide. So, there are few common challenges which most couple experience when boundaries are not clearly defined. So, we'll talk about few of them. First is joint versus nuclear households. So, in most arranged marriages, couples they move into joint families. So, this can create closeness and support, but it may also reduce privacy and increase expectations around routines, chores, and decision making. For example, a couple planning a quiet evening together may find it replaced by family gatherings simply because they live in a joint household. Even with loving in laws, right? This constant proximity can feel overwhelming as the couple tries to build their own rhythm. And another common challenge is financial obligations. So, finances can often extend beyond the couple. Means, you may be expected to contribute to the household, maybe support parents or follow existing money priorities. For example, you might want to save for travel or for a future home, but the family expects contribution for shared expenses or any major events. So these situations are not about right or wrong, they reflect different generational needs. And finally, there's social expectations. So families may carry traditions, rituals, or community expectations, and they hope that couple will follow the same. right? So these can create, these can create connection. They may also feel very heavy if the couple wants a different lifestyle. Being expected to host festivals, attend every family function, or follow certain customs can become very stressful when it clashes with personal preferences. So, every arranged marriage involves balancing the two worlds, your relationship as a couple and the expectations of the families. So, understanding these realities very early on helps you make more grounded and healthier decisions together. Next slide. Right. So now we'll talk about the boundaries in marriage. So someone had a question, right? What are boundaries? Right? So in arranged marriages, boundaries must exist at three different levels: personal space, couple space, and family space. So personal space is the time and the emotional room each person needs just for themselves. Whether it's pursuing hobbies, spending time with friends, relaxing alone, or simply taking a break after a long day. In arranged marriages, the space can sometimes shrink because many new expectations come in all at once, right? But without personal space, people start feeling drained, overwhelmed, or like they're losing parts of who they are. So, protecting your personal space is essential for your emotional balance. Now, we'll talk about couple space. Couple space is that private world that you and your partner share. It's where you build your bond through honest conversations, shared routines, inside jokes, and meaningful rituals. So it's the space where decisions are made as a team, right? Not influenced by any extended family member. In arranged marriages, creating this bubble intentionally, becomes more important because this is where trust, intimacy, and partnership they truly grow. And now we'll talk about family space. Family space includes traditions, festivals, responsibilities, and daily interactions with parents or relatives. So it gives support and a sense of belonging. But if it starts taking too much space, it can overshadow your personal or couple time. For example, if every evening is spent with family by default, the couple may lose their own private time. So the key is finding the balance in family involvement with your own needs as a couple. So sometimes what happens, the most conflicts, right, they arise when these three spaces overlap without any clarity. So we'll talk about that. Next slide, please. Yeah. So let's understand what is over involvement. So over involvement does not mean families don't love you. In fact, it means it comes from care, worry, or wanting what they believe is best. Even with good intentions, it becomes a problem. So family over involvement usually does not start with any bad intention, because the parents, they step in because they truly care or worry about their child, right? But sometimes that concern turns into control, like insisting on how the couple should live, spend, or behave without even realizing the impact. So this leads to unsolicited advice or interference in decisions. So this can look like parents giving constant advice about how to run the house, what the couples should buy, how often they should visit, or how they should handle disagreements. Even sometimes, without being asked. So they just give the unsolicited advice. For example, a mother-in-law telling the couple which furniture to buy, or parent advising how they should spend the weekends, right? And this creates pressure and emotional distance in the couple's bond. So, when someone keeps stepping in, the couple begins to feel watched or judged, right? So, one partner may feel stuck between their spouse and their partners. So, this silent pressure can lead to misunderstandings, resentment, or the couple avoiding real conversations just to keep their peace of mind, right? And over time, this reduces the independence and weakens the mutual trust. If every decision is influenced from outside, the couple get less practice time, right? They practice less in making choices together. So they may start doubting their own judgment, or they might rely too much on the outside, on the family. So this slowly weakens the trust. they are supposed to be building together, right? As a team, as their own little team. They start relying on others, right? So we'll talk about boundaries now. Next slide. Right. So in many families, saying no or asking for space is seen as disrespectful, right? But that does not have to be true because boundaries are not rejection, they are just structure. So when communicated with warmth and clarity, boundaries become they actually strengthen the relationship. So you can start by using I statements. Example, instead of saying you always interfere, you can say, I feel overwhelmed when decisions are made without checking in with us first. Right? So, here using I statements helps you express your feelings without blaming anyone. This keeps the conversation calm and prevents defensiveness. So, it tells the other person what you need, not what they are doing is wrong. Right? And the other one is communicating consistently and calmly. The boundaries are understood best when they're expressed gently and repeated consistently. So, if you say we like to plan our weekends ourselves, it helps when the message is shared calmly and not during an argument or during a stressful moment. So, a steady and peaceful tone makes it clear that this is not about frustration or disrespect, but simply about how you function best as a couple. For example, you mentioned that evenings are your quiet couple time. So communicate it calmly each time, not only when you're overwhelmed, right? So a steady tone, steady tone like give us few minutes, we'll join you shortly. It helps the family understand that boundary without feeling hurt or blamed. Then you can involving partners while setting limits, or you can call this standing as a team, right? So when partners send mixed messages, families naturally follow the easier path, right? So boundaries work only when both partners present as a united, gentle front. For example, if one partner says, "We'll make the financial decisions together," but the other partner privately agrees with parents, it creates confusion and tension, right? But if both partners they calmly say the same thing, families understand the boundary without feeling attacked, right? And finally, showing respect to elders while being firm about your needs. So you don't need to be rude to be clear. A calm tone, polite wording, and steady firmness help families feel respected while still understanding what the couple needs. For example, saying something like, "Your guidance means a lot to us. We are thinking of trying this approach our way. If it doesn't work out, we'll surely come to you for advice." This approach honors elders while keeping the couple's space intact, right? So, these approaches preserve both the marriage and the family bond, allowing respect, love, and autonomy to exist together. Next slide, please. Right. So let's understand balancing culture and independence. In many arranged marriages, the fear is that setting boundaries means rejecting culture. But that's not the case, right? Independence and culture, they're not opposites. Independence means you have a voice, culture means you honor values. So when these coexist, the marriage becomes secure, respectful, and emotionally healthy. So the goal isn't to remove family completely. It is to prevent family from overshadowing the relationship. Right? So we'll look at this in the form of case study. Next slide, please. Right.
Era
Uh,
లక్షలు వీటికి పోవడమే దాని
Mani, can you please mute yourself?
అంటే ఆడంతా అది వాళ్ళ గ్రూప్లో
Mani? Yeah, thank you. So let's look at the situation which many people experience, right? So Ria and Arjun live with Arjun's parents. Arjun's mother often, comments on how Ria manages the home and expects her to follow traditional way of doing things. Arjun, wanting to avoid conflict, usually stays silent. Over time, Ria begins to feel unseen, unsupported, and emotionally disconnected. This case illustrates what happens when boundaries aren't clear and when partners are not aligned in communication. Next slide. So, what could they do differently here? Right? There are some healthier approaches which they could consider. Arjun can express support for Ria while still respecting his mother. So, saying things like, "We appreciate your opinion, but we'd like to try doing this our way." And Ria can express her feelings without blaming the traditions or the family. So, focusing on how certain actions impact her emotionally. So, as a couple, they can create shared boundaries about household decisions, privacy, and routines. So, they can build couple rituals like daily check ins, shared meals, or weekend time together to strengthen their emotional connection. So their situation teaches how boundaries can act as a bridge, right? Connecting families while protecting the couple. So the key lesson here is that healthy communication and shared boundaries help couples stay connected to the family without losing their own partnership. So when both partners, right, stand together with empathy and clarity, relationship harmony becomes much easier to protect, right? So this is the end of the section here. If anyone has any question, they can ask. Otherwise, over to Ahil.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sanjeevni. So this part focuses on something that often gets overlooked in arranged marriage conversations, right? Which is emotional and psychological readiness or preparedness in arranged marriages. So while families discuss compatibility, values, careers, and backgrounds, the emotional side, which entails questions like, "Am I ready? How do I handle uncertainty? How do I shift from singlehood to partnership?" These questions are equally important. Being ready isn't about being perfect, it's about presence. It's about being aware, grounded, and emotionally available as you enter this new phase. Next slide, please. So we start off with a small one-word check-in activity. So in one word, describe how do you feel about the idea of marriage. If you had to express just how do you feel about it in just one word, what would that word be? Anyone? Anyone in the chat box? Companionship. Okay, absolutely. Anyone else would like to volunteer to say anything? It can be anything. There are no right or wrong answers. Anything that comes to your mind. Yeah, shared responsibility, transparency, burden. Okay, shared. Okay, right. Absolutely. Right. Okay. So what this does is this helps us recognize that emotional preparedness starts with identifying how we actually feel. If we do not really know, or if we do not really identify our internal feelings, then we can't really gauge how emotionally prepared we are for such an important event in our lives. Next slide. Okay, excuse me. So now we focus on the mindset shift. So from me to we. So one of the biggest psychological transitions in arranged marriage is the shift from me to we. So let's take a look at a few core ideas here. So marriage is actually a partnership, not ownership. It is not where either of you own the other person. It's actually a 50-50 partnership, right? It's about balancing independence and interdependence, maintaining your individuality while building shared goals. You both, like I said, it's kind of like a collaborative effort. You have to maintain your individuality. At the same time, you also have to be interdependent on each other at a certain level to make it work. And lastly, it involves transitioning from parental support to shared decision making. So this mental shift, doesn't happen overnight, right? It requires time, awareness, communication, and a lot of patience. So let's ask a quick question here. So, what do you think changes most when someone moves from singlehood to partnership? Like anything, any idea? Like I said, there are no right or wrong answers. Responsibilities, right? Absolutely. It can be anything actually. Freedom, independence to do things your way, right? For you, it's autonomy, respect each other's boundaries. Adjustment. Right. Yeah. Yeah, Sarsha, go ahead.
Your decisions are not only your decisions, it might affect your partner. So we have to think before taking every decision that it cause it might affect another partner or family. So that is the thing.
Right, absolutely. You are absolutely correct. So, like I said, it's a collaboration, it's a partnership. So, since there's a certain level of interdependence involved here, so this is a very valid, vital point that you mentioned. Thank you, everyone, for being so interactive and participative. Right. So, next slide, please. Yeah. So now we talk about emotional adjustment, right? So one of the most misunderstood parts of arranged marriage is intimacy. This highlights that intimacy actually builds gradually through trust and safety. It's not something that is done in one day or done in the initial stages. It is built gradually once trust and comfort and safety, these feelings are developed. Next, vulnerability is about courage. It's not weakness. It's actually courageous to be vulnerable. It's actually courageous to open up and be brave enough to be vulnerable or to be try to open to your partner. That shows a lot of courage and bravery. And then, lastly, open communication about needs and boundaries builds comfort and respect, right? So basically, in arranged marriages, two people often start as strangers, so emotional closeness doesn't arrive magically after an engagement. Just because an engagement happens doesn't mean that it's natural that just after the engagement all the emotions, all the emotional closeness will appear. It grows through small moments like honest conversations, shared fears, and being vulnerable, gentle disclosures, and actually being dependable on each other. It's a time taking and gradual process. The more safely you can share parts of yourself, the more intimacy naturally grows. It's a natural process. It's not something that is forced or, it takes place very naturally. Next slide. Okay. So some of the pre-wedding jitters is like common emotions that a person faces before a wedding. It's completely normal to experience mixed emotions before and during the arranged marriage processes. So let's talk about some of the common emotions that people can face. So you all can give me a thumbs up if you feel like it's relatable, or if you feel like this is something that is correct. So the first one says that anxiety about compatibility. So if you are compatible with that person or not, physically, mentally, emotionally, on all levels, you need to be compatible with your partner. So being anxious about whether you're compatible or not is a very valid and a natural emotion. Second, fear of change or expectations. So we all fear change, or we all are anxious about changes in our lives, right? So since this is a very major change, so being anxious about that or being afraid about that, like, okay, what will change, or what are the expectations, what might be a new burden on me, like feelings like these are natural to come, right? And lastly, doubts about readiness. So it can happen that just during the process or even just before the whole process of a wedding or an arranged marriage, what can happen is that, like, you might feel doubtful. You might feel like, okay, maybe I'm not ready, because just as the event gets closer, or just the idea of being married to a person slowly turns into a reality, it slowly hits you. Like initially you might feel like you're ready and everything, you're absolutely okay to move forward with it, but eventually you might start doubting, and that's completely like natural. That's a very normal thing to happen. So every one of these emotions are valid. Most people think that something is wrong when these emotions arise. They start thinking that, okay, I'm such a bad person that I'm doubting myself right now. So that's not a thing that you have to do. It's it's not something that is wrong with you. It's a sign that you're human, not unprepared. It's not about being prepared or not. Human beings have emotions. Human beings sometimes have emotions that cannot be easily described. It's not always completely black and white. There is a gray area sometimes. So it's actually absolutely okay to feel these emotions. So emotional readiness doesn't mean that you have to be fearless. It means knowing how to work with your fears. It means knowing how to work through them, knowing how to, like, knowing when these fears come, how can you work through these fears to overcome them and eventually get ready. Next slide. Okay, so now we talk about some of the tools to cope with anxiety and uncertainty. So when anxiety shows up, and it actually will, okay, like expect anxiety to show up, having these tools in your inventory might help. So here are a few strategies. The first one is the grounding and mindfulness technique, or the 333 technique. So basically, when you're feeling anxious, okay, you can also practice this on a kind of a regular basis, so that you're prepared to do it when you're like feeling that load of anxiety. So the first thing you have to do is identify three things you can see, right? So this whole process grounds yourself back to reality, slowly reduces your anxiety. So the first step is identifying three things that you can see around you in your immediate environment. Then identify three sounds you can hear. It can be anything, literally any sound that you can hear. Then lastly, three things you can touch. So these activating these senses, your sight, your smell, your hearing, and your sensations of touch. So this slows down the mind and brings you back to the present moment, instead of like going off the rails, overthinking or ruminating. The next tool is communicating clearly. Communication is absolutely crucial throughout the entire process. So talk to your partner or family when something feels overwhelming. Do not think that hiding things from them will provide them will like hiding your own anxiety from your partner. Do not think that you're helping a partner in that way. Okay, instead of doing that, communicating with a partner, like being upfront that okay, I'm thinking these things, I'm having these doubts, so that might provide both of you clarity. Silence creates confusion. Silence creates if you are silent, if you feel like not sharing that, if you feel like hiding those negative emotions from your partner, then your partner will obviously 9 out of 10 times will notice at it, and will start making assumptions on his own, which might lead to a lot of misunderstanding, which we certainly don't want. And the third tool that you can use is focus on the controllables, basically focusing on what you think you can control. You can't control the other person's pace, their family dynamics, or how fast you emotionally connect. You can't control how the other person feels, like what dynamics they have with their family, what kind of relationship they have with their family, or the pace at which you might emotionally connect. This all happens naturally and with time. You do not have any kind of influence or control over this. But what you can control is you can control your own readiness, your own boundaries which you can set, and your way of communication. Doing your part, knowing that you have done everything on your part, gives you a lot of relief and lot of clarity. Lastly, seek support if needed. If you feel like you have exhausted all the resources, all the inventories that you have, and you still feel like you might help, feel free to seek support. Therapists, mentors, or even trusted friends, very close friends, can provide clarity and a lot of grounding. So what these tools aren't about eliminating anxiety. Okay, do not think that using these tools will remove anxiety completely. They help you stay steady while navigating uncertainty. They help you stay anchored to the ground, right? So next slide. Okay. So now we talk about some of the core skills involved in building resilience and emotional intelligence. So resilience in marriage isn't about avoiding problems. It's about navigating them with steadiness and empathy. You can't avoid problems. There is no way around it. The only way is through it, right? So some of the three core skills which I mentioned here, the first one being recognizing and naming emotions. Understanding what you feel reduces confusion. Oh, so it's vital to ask yourself what is the emotion that I'm feeling it, like exactly, like pinpointing the emotion instead of being ambiguous, or instead of feeling like I don't know how I feel. This provides you with a lot of clarity and reduces confusion. The second point is managing reactions during conflict. So disagreements are normal. Every relationships have disagreements and argument. Emotional intelligence helps you respond instead of react. So instead of reacting to every disagreement or every argument, being present there and being emotionally intelligent, helps you respond instead of always reacting. You can always respond to like maybe an indifference that might rise between you two, instead of just reacting defensively or reacting aggressively to that. Last point, practicing empathy and repair. So repair is the ability to come back together after conflict, and empathy is where you feel the other person's pain, you feel the other person's emotions, you put yourself in their shoes and you actively feel it. Sympathy is different from empathy. Sympathy is where you might feel pity for that person, like, oh, I feel so bad about you. But empathy is where you can actually feel what the other person is feeling, instead of just being like, oh no, I feel so bad about you. It's just putting yourself in that person's shoes. So emotional intelligence is basically less about avoiding conflict and more about navigating it with grace. This is one of the strongest predictors of long-term compatibility. How you can, how you deal with these stages can influence or can say a lot about your long-term compatibility with your potential partner. Next slide. Okay. So now let's do another small reflection activity, right? So here's another question. What's one mindset that you would like to carry into marriage? It could be anything. It could be patience, openness, teamwork, or something entirely personal. This mindset actually can become your internal anchor during the fluctuations of this journey. So anything you can think of, right? Patience, absolutely. Anything else? Any other thing? Open discussion and emphatic. Okay, okay, absolutely. Growth, right? Absolutely. These are all really good points. Understanding, right? Being understanding is crucial. Communication and need to have space to process. That's a very good point. Like providing each other and providing yourself space to process emotions and process situations help you go a long way, not just being involved in each other's emotions and every situation like all the time. Also, like that, doing that can backfire, or doing that can have negative reactions. Anyone else? You guys are absolutely correct. Thank you so much for participating. Anyone else? Anything that comes to your mind? Yeah, Suresh, go ahead.
I feel like me and my partner should be act like one team. Like it should be any conflict or any um, like anything which is holding us back was means problems versus us. It should not be like us against each other. So that is what I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. So the ideal thing for the whole situation to be is, instead of you being against each other, it should be both of you being against the problem. I think that's a very good point that you brought up. It's about teamwork, it's about compatibility, it's about being comfortable with each other, being with each other in strong times, in rough times, and being strong together, because in any relationships it's absolutely inevitable to have disagreements or have hurdles. There is not a single relationship in this world where it's smooth sailing all the time. There are going to be good times, obviously, but the main test of a relationship, where how compatible you are, how like c- connected you are with this person emotionally and mentally, is actually tested during those rough times. So thank you so much for mentioning that point. I hope this gave clarity to the others as well. So next slide. Okay, so before I end this part, so here are like the three key messages from this section. So preparedness is about awareness, not perfection. So you don't need to have everything figured out. Okay, you just need to be present and self-aware. Like we discussed, we are all human beings, and our whole life, not just relationships, our whole life is a learning curve. We do mistakes, we learn from our mistakes, and we try not to avoid those mistakes the next time. It's an entirely a learning curve. We learn new things at every step of the moment. The same thing goes for relationships as well. You can't put that pressure on yourself to be, you have to take the right decision every time, you have to be the perfect person every time. Nor you nor your partner should take that pressure on yourselves. Just be in the moment, present in the moment, stay calm and self-aware, and do your absolute best. If any decision or if anything at all turns out to be a mistake, you can always learn from it and move ahead. You just don't have to cling to it. So preparedness is basically about being aware. The next point, change takes adjustment and communication. Every change, every transition, be it emotional, lifestyle, relational, this requires conversation. This requires like going through the change smoothly, like ignoring or trying to work through any disagreements or any troubles or any hurdles that you might face requires actual communication. If you try to just stay silent and go through it or power through it, most of the times you will feel like some of the other problem might arise and it will never stop, right? So active conversation, communicating about the whole process with your partner makes it a like lot easier to go through it instead of just going through it alone by staying silent. And lastly, vulnerability strengthens connection. Like I said, being vulnerable involves you being really brave, or you showing a lot of courage, because being open to another person or showing yourself up to another person takes a lot of courage than keeping everything to yourself and being enclosed. And you might think that, okay, if I take everything, like if I keep silent, if I keep everything personally to myself, then I will save my partner from all the anxiety and other stuff. But that's actually the exact opposite of what you're doing, like intentionally or unintentionally. So being vulnerable strengthens connection. So lastly, arranged marriage is actually not just a logistical match. It's not like statistical or purely formal, where you go with a bucket list. You see that you're ticking all the options that you think are in that person, and you're like, okay, it's a perfect match. It's not always like that. It's an emotional journey. And preparing yourself from the inside out makes that journey healthier and more fulfilling. So that's it for this part. I hope you guys could take away the tools, and you guys could gain some awareness and insights from the parts that I've talked about right now. If you don't have any questions, then I'll let Anupama take over the next section.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ahil. So now that we have explored the main topics, we're going to introduce you to MindTribe's premarital counseling program. So this part is all about helping you understand how the program works, why it is useful, and how it can support couples in building a strong foundation before marriage. Right. So how would it look, your path to marriage with MindTribe? So how first of all, talking about the sessions. So, most couples would go through about 4 to 6 sessions, but again, it's customizable or flexible. Some may need only fewer sessions, and some may want a little more, depending on their comfort and what they want to explore. The first 1 or 2 sessions will be individual. This is because it gives each person space to talk openly about things they might find hard to express in front of their partner. And it also helps us understand both individuals better, so that when we move into the joint sessions, the space feels more safe, more comfortable, and supportive for both the partners. And coming to the format, all sessions are online, which makes it easy for couples with different schedules, or for those living in different cities, much easier to attend. And the sessions are always led by trained counselors. And our approach, everything is confidential, structured, and evidence based. We don't give random advice, we use proven tools and methods that help the couples to build any sort of clarity, communication, and also a better connection. So, your overall path for your counseling journey with MindTribe is flexible, professional, and centered around what exactly the couple needs. And coming to the focus areas, what are the most important areas that help couples build a more stronger and a more healthier start? So, we will cover communication and conflict resolution, that is, how to talk openly, how to listen, and how to handle disagreements without hurting the relationship. We will also work on managing expectations and finances. This includes, daily responsibilities, the long-term goals each person has, the money habits, that is spending and how much saving, and understanding what each partner expects from their marriage. And another important part that we'll be covering is emotional intimacy and boundaries. That is how to stay connected, how to support each other emotionally, and also how to maintain the healthy personal and couple boundaries. We will also explore family involvement and role clarity. So this basically helps the couples to understand how to deal with parents, extended family traditions, and the balance between couple space and family expectations. And along the way, we would also look at many subtle but important things, like, again, communication styles, the stress patterns, personality differences, respect, kindness, and even the small habits that impact a relationship. So all of these areas together help the couples enter marriage with more clarity, more confidence, and a stronger bond. Right. So before we move on, I would just ask you guys to reflect on this. How much do we usually spend on wedding clothes, or wedding decor, or wedding photos, or all the other things that, takes place during your wedding? You can just feel free to share your thoughts. There are no right or wrong answers here. Right. There's 1 lakh. Many, right? Absolutely. Anybody else? Any answers? If you don't have to give me a correct amount or anything, any approximate, or if you feel like it is expensive, anything on that lane is also fine. Right, 520 lakhs depending on preferences, right? Absolutely. Right, depends on financial ability, yeah, that's also right. Right, depends on financial condition, personal choice, right? 20 to 30 lakhs, right? Okay, we do have a couple of different answers. And just one more. Now, could a small part of that be invested in the marriage itself? That is, something that actually supports the relationship for years, not just the wedding day, right? Now, these are not questions for any sort of judgment. They're just basically invitations to think about where we place our time, our energy, and our resources. Right. I did see a thumbs up. If you feel like it is all right to, invest a small part of it to help build a more stronger marriage, you guys can give me a thumbs up. Okay. Okay, great. I do see a few thumbs up. Okay. Okay, I see a few more. Great. Great. Thank you so much, guys, for responding. Thank you so much for your responses. Right. So let's just look into investing in what lasts, right? So when we think about weddings, most of the spending naturally goes into things like, the decorations, the outfits, for the wedding photography, and even the small beautiful details that makes the day very special, right? Now these things look great and they matter in the moment, they definitely do, but they are a little temporary, right? On the other hand, what truly lasts is the guidance, the clarity, and the emotional tools that help a couple through real life, right? Not just the wedding day. So, counseling does give you something that doesn't fade, that doesn't get packed away and that doesn't lose any sort of value over time, right? So it gives you sort of clarity, connection, peace of mind, and also a stronger start for things that are truly priceless, right? And as we always say, weddings last a day, marriages last a lifetime, right? Because wedding is, maybe a day or a few days, but a marriage is a lifetime, and preparing for the marriage can be just as meaningful as preparing for the wedding. So take the first step with MindTribe. So as we close, we feel this is something that could support you either now or in the future. MindTribe is here to help. So you can start your premarital journey with our talented counselors, and it will be simple, flexible, and designed around your comfort. And honestly, a few counseling sessions cost far less than most single day wedding expenses, right? It's not a cost at all, it's more of an investment in long term happiness, clarity, as well as a better partnership, right? If you are interested or even just curious, you can always reach out to me, Sanjeevni, Simran, or Ahil. We will be happy to share more details and guide you through the next steps. We do also offer marital counseling and relationship counseling. So we offer ongoing support for couples at different stages of the relationship. We offer marital counseling for couples who are already married and want to strengthen their connection, work through any sort of challenges, or simply if you just want to improve your communication, right? So it is a safe space to understand each other better and move forward as a team. We also provide relationship counseling, which is helpful even if you're not married, right? Whether you're dating, committed, or figuring things out, these sessions will help you build healthier patterns to, manage better conflicts better and to understand your partner's needs and your own. So whether you're at the beginning of your journey or already deep into it, we're here to support the relationship at every stage. If you are interested, you can reach out to us and we will help you, guide you on to the next steps. All right. Now, as we come to the end of our session, I just want to leave you guys with a few takeaways to carry with you. So, first of all, marriage works best when it's built on understanding, not assumptions. So, the more clearly we know ourselves and our partner, the stronger the relationship becomes. And communication boundaries are what keep love and respect alive, right? It's not about avoiding conflict, it's about learning how to handle it with more care, more honesty, and also kindness to yourself and to your partner. And preparation isn't doubt, it is actually a sign of strength. So, getting ready for marriage emotionally and mentally shows commitment, maturity, as well as responsibility. And finally, investing in emotional readiness is just as important as investing in the wedding. So, again, as I mentioned earlier, weddings create memories for a day, but emotional preparation supports a marriage for a lifetime. So, as you go forward, whether you're single, engaged, or already married, remember that building a healthy relationship is an ongoing journey, and taking more thoughtful steps can make the whole path more smoother and more meaningful. So that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you so much for being with us for over these 2 days. It's been wonderful listening to your thoughts, your reflections, and your different points of view. We truly enjoyed the openness each of you brought into the space. I hope today's discussions have given you something meaningful to think about, something that supports you in understanding yourself, your relationships, and your journey towards marriage. So, once again, thank you so much for joining us and being such a wonderful audience. If you guys have any questions or doubts, we're happy to take them now. If not, you're also welcome to drop off. I wish you all a great day ahead.